Hello, everybody. 1st of August. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Pinch and a punch for the first of the month and a kick for no return. I was just writing down do new video for intro. So next week, maybe there'll be a new video. I have these flights of fancy. How are you all? Who is watching? Who's with me? Are you pleased? It is August. Now then, as is the way, it is Happy Yorkshire Day. Hey up, Happy Yorkshire Day from Dan. I want you to use this format as a way of building your network. Happy Yorkshire Day to you, Dan. My favourite Yorkshire comment is tin tin tin. Tin tin tin. If without you saying Dan, I wonder if anyone else can guess what that is. But why not say hello in the comments and let's find out when is your birthday? Whose birthday is coming up next? Farhad, hello from South Africa. Hello, my friend. And hello, Scott. How are you doing? Never to be confused again. Phil in the house. Well, in the office today, but you know what I do, Phil. And I am glad you are in the house. Ray of Sunshine is here. Not on holiday, not roasting in Greece, sat here with you. The best place to be, Bev. Come on. Beverly Hughes, everyone. The legend that is. Has anyone figured out what tin 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 means? Bearing in mind it is Happy Yorkshire Day. Come on, everyone. Now then, Scott was born on the 4th of July. Nice, easy. And Marianne's here. Borodar from the Welsh Wizard. 4th of July. So you've just had your birthday, Scott. Belated happy returns. Say hello in the comments, everybody. And when is your birthday? Let's Ian Sutherland is being a bit vague there, Ian, mate. Mid-July. So you've just had yours as well. Again, belated birthday wishes. Now, I'm going to give the game away then. So Dan will know this. Tin, tin, tin in Yorkshire speak is it isn't in the tin. And my godparents kind of drummed some of these phrases into me. I will also let you know my birthday then. Much like Scott's, it's a memorable date, which is a double-edged sword. My birthday is on Valentine's Day, February the 14th. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Now, Bev, December the 22nd, you've got time to save up. Your birthday's a day before my sister's. She absolutely hates it being on near Christmas. Dan's, here we go. 12th of January, the worst time to encourage any level of celebrations. Everyone's skin and it's dry January. It's so true. You must curse the person that who came up with dry January anyway. Phil in the house says, I gave up birthdays a number of years ago. Both my kids believe I'm 24 and I can live with that. Now, if you can get away that your children think you're 24, Phil, happy days. You have found the elixir of youth, my friend. Keith Stapleton, same day as my brothers. Now, come on, Keith. What is the day? One of twins. What is the date? We can help each other. We can help each other celebrate. Now then, Mark. Hi, Martin. April the 20th. Ian says, my brother's is 23rd of December. Ex-stepfather was December the 29th. And late stepbrother was January the 4th. Our Christmas was one long party. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's funny how families' birthdays come in bunches, don't they? We've just got through a huge set of birthdays. And it is one after the other. And my dad's is a few days after mine, and my auntie's is a day after mine. When I was a student, I once forgot my dad's birthday. Far too hedonistic. Okay, so I do hope that if you're not connected with people that you've seen, add a comment that you connect with them and get to know them. Now, we have been having some fun in the community. We posted. Sorry, I think I missed Keith. 7th of April. Few in April, actually, isn't there? Clayton's here. Hello, all. Hope you're all enjoying a great start to your week. 19th of April. Born in 2004. I wish. Clayton, let's not start talking about your age. Clayton is deceptively old, if that makes sense. He's a youngster. He looks so young, but we're very similar in age. He makes me feel sick. We've had a great time in the team leader community. I just want to give you an idea in case you also want to do it. Let me just bring this into play. We celebrated going past 200 people in the community. So I bought a voucher, an e-voucher, and added £50 to it, and then posted this image into the community and asked people to go and have a coffee on the community, because they were part of the community. They could go to Costa and get a drink, a coffee, a snack, and it was a little bit of, not a test, but it gives you an idea of the people in the community, because technically someone could have rocked up and taken all £50. I'm really pleased to say that didn't happen. It got all the way down to about £10, and I added another £20 on it yesterday, and that's nearly all gone. So £70, but it was in, and you can see it's individual purchases, lots of them. So a nice idea if you have any kind of community there. It's a nice way of getting people involved, so that when they're at Costa, they're thinking of the community. And we're over 200, so we're 205. Lovely Marianne. 28th of September coming up soon. Do you say Libran? Libra. So you're Libran. So your birthday is probably next, then, I'm thinking, from everyone. And then we have Bev's. Have I missed anyone's that's coming up? I think everyone. Oh, of course, Dan's is the new year. Get him some coffee, I reckon. Okay. My question for you all, I'm relying on your, and I see from the comments some of the great people watching. I'm sure you're going to nail this one. And we always seem, I don't know about you, we're coming up to the expo in November. I will be there talking and hosting some panels, and I might even have a little space there for Get Out a Rap and the Team Leader community. I hope you are going to come along. That is the 29th and 30th of November, I think, in London in the Excel. But at the expo, we always tend to get somebody, and I love these types of chats, that talks about what is coming up in the future. And I would love to see your thoughts for all of you when you gaze into your crystal ball. We're at a time of huge technological advances, maybe more so now than at any other point in our careers. So, contact centers 10 years from now, what do you think they will be like? Do you believe they'll be very different? Or do you think not much is going to change, actually? And a lot of this talk about the technology that's being used here tends to only be taken up by a small percentage of our contact centers, and the rest we're very similar to how we were many moons ago. What do you think? Contact centers in the future, 10 years from now, what do you think they will be like? What will have changed? What will still be the same? When you think about the future and you think about your position in it and your companies and the technology that they're using and the people that are there and what they're doing, what do you think? Marianne, straight in here. What does the future hold? Is it me writing a book? Wink, wink. Who knows? Okay, so we've got our first prediction. Marianne will have a book out. which I'm sure all of us will be purchasing and looking to read. If it's anything like your comments and how you show up on LinkedIn, Marianne, it's going to be well worth a read. What else do we think? Do you think that it's going to be pretty similar? I don't know about you, but a lot of the time at the expo, from leading up to anyway, certainly 2020, that was a nice round number that lots of people like to use about the what will the agent of 2020 look like. And yes, there's been some changes and some real nice advancements in our understanding of neuroscience, well-being, mental health. Tasks are becoming more complex, but predominantly is the agent of now any different really from the agent of 2010 or even 25? Who knows? Okay, Bev, I'd like to think there will be nicer environments, comfortable, airy, because of the need to make the office more attractive, better systems, hardware, facilities. I'm with you, Bev. I when I look forward into the future, I am maybe looking forward from an optimist point of view, but I'd like to think that everything's just a bit better. Um, and you'd certainly think, wouldn't you, that in this, as we're kind of figuring out what the new way to go ahead looks like, that we're going to be making nicer environments, that we're going to have to entice people back. Interestingly, in the community yesterday, um, someone messaged me to say they had been offered a position, but it meant less time at home, more time in the contact center, and the environment was a key consideration. Um, Now, Phil, tough question to answer. Generative AI can't not have an impact on the industry, and I would hope the technology matures to support agents creating amazing experiences rather than cutting posts. I'd expect higher expectations from customers around personalization, etc. It is a tough question, Phil, but I think you've done a brilliant job there to get us going, along with Bev, around what does this mean? So, generative AI and the impact it's going to have. But you hope as it matures, it supports agents creating amazing and personalized experiences for customers. That would be great, wouldn't it? Dan says a different body, but with the same pumping heart, trying to deliver great customer service experience. What an amazing use of language there, Dan. I love it. So that our body may be different as an industry, but we still have the same pumping heart trying to deliver great customer service experience. The body like augmented, like Robocop. Keith says, I think we will go through a similar cycle to what we did in the early noughties when offshoring was taking off and then declined. Much depends on the customer. Will they start to reject the current trend of non human interaction? Really, really interesting, Keith. And watch this space for some of our read along where you'll see a few interpretations that might, related to your point for sure, but a lovely point to make. Clayton, I am not as close to contact center ops as I used to be, but looking at the way people like to communicate now in normal everyday life, I feel talking on a phone to a human will not be as big as it is now, but rather messaging, mailing, and chatting. Clayton, it's like you've seen some of the slides coming up. Let's come back to this point, but a thought provoking comment there from Clayton. What does everyone think? Do you think, certainly in the next 10 years, that talking on the phone will become less prevalent? If you remember some of the stats from our read along, you'll know that actually um, it's kind of stayed. It's by far the highest medium, right? But it's stayed high. It hasn't actually declined. And with an aging population, might that still be the same in 10 years, or will we see these other channels and these other preferences really start to increase? Really interesting point, Clayton. Ah, great. David's here. David from Q Story. So, more highly skilled advisors handling more complex inquiries. Hybrid home working will be the model, and the industry will have to flex in terms of the way that it supports and develops the workforce. Really, really true. I don't think any of us can um, argue with that, David. Really, really good points. I think we are well on the journey there with all of those. Ian says highly skilled advisors means you need better retention, and that means you need to really make sure you get the right people and then treat them right. So true. And I know this is a key topic in our industry at the moment, Ian, isn't it? That both the attraction and the retention of talented people, skilled advisors. You say you are dead right. Marianne says, when it comes to the contact center, I would like to see companies telling the truth and understand what are their real underlying issues, the environment, the culture, actually put in a people strategy. So Marianne is hoping for I guess, real transparency, right? And I think that kind of, we ask our leaders to be transparent and vulnerable. Then we hope that our companies are the same. Marianne, is that what you're hoping for? Um, People talking about their issues, environment, culture, and having a people strategy. Now, people will always need the voice channel. So, David here, taking a counterpoint to Clayton, the decline of the voice channel has been foretold for 20 years and has not happened yet. And that's certainly borne out in the Contact Babel stuff that we've gone through, David, isn't it? It's maintained its dominance. It hasn't declined, and you'd think with our population kind of being around for longer than that will happen more and more. Scott says AI will be more readily available and commonplace to eliminate administrative tasks. Contact center staff will largely be second line. I feel there'll be a shift away from social media. You only have to look at the volatility of Twitter, or now named X. Would like to think that the industry will become a career of choice as customer relationship experts. Applaud that very much so. Wouldn't that be brilliant? Customer relationship experts. I can't remember which center it was, Scott, but I've seen someone kind of rename their contact center, have they, to pretty much a customer expert center or something like that. Um, it was on LinkedIn. I'm doing it a disservice, but I liked the renaming, so couldn't agree more. I do hope it becomes a career of choice. Get Out a Rap will be on prime time TV. Wouldn't that be great? Now, this week I am actually getting on the podcast Abby Wilson, who wrote the Ruby Speaking TV comedy series. If you haven't watched it, please do. It's brilliant. They it's a good comedy. It's on ITVX, and the writer is going to be on the podcast. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, Gal TV. Why not? I mean, there's enough channels, isn't there? Come on, I'm with you, Dan, on this one. Clayton David Priest. I hope you're right. Would love that to be the case still. And I know, Clayton, I know that's what you think as well, isn't it? So uh Mike, no problem. Apologies for the late arrival. Caught on a call. I say it every week, but do check out Mike's YouTube's Wake Up to CX. They're really, really interesting and thought provoking. Ah, was it yourselves, Dan, that had renamed your center? Is that what you mean, or were you just saying, is it time for one? I got one before the show started, so don't worry. Customer Expertise Center, says David. I think it was something similar to that. So, and if it is, Dan, if it is your center, I'm sorry that I missed it. I normally watch your every move like a hawk, because Dan is always at the cutting edge. Um, and I think we could all agree with Dan that in the next 10 years, we'd love to see Get Out of Rap be on primetime TV. I'll have to be handing over to a younger, more dynamic host, because I'll be getting on a bit. Okay, you all know what's coming up next. It's the time you've all been waiting for. Oh, actually, before I do that, let me just show you something. Oh, hold on. We go by Customer Relationship Center, and our people are coffee specialists. I love that. Um, I wonder, do many other people do that? If not, then I think it's a really, really good idea. When I was working in Istanbul, no one used the term agents or advisors. They were um, medical specialists or concierge specialists, and the terms really helped, I think. Marianne, thank you. So my point about companies telling the truth, yes, it is about their leadership teams owning up to the issues that are actually happening in their companies and not telling us all that it is great. Stop putting up a facade and get your customer experience sorted. Yes, very, very true. If I can fit on the soapbox with you, I will stand up there with you, and I would like to see a little bit more transparency. And definitely, I think there is a need for people to sort out their customer experience in a lot of cases. Mike, I think the contact center will actually become more of an old fashioned local shop, only for local people. So much data available and being captured that we give freely. I think customer experts will be able to treat every interaction like you're speaking to a friend you have known for years and tailor it to you. In the words of Jerry Maguire, fewer clients, less money, more personal attention. I love it. I love it. And on the whole concept of making use of data to personalize an experience, I recorded a podcast yesterday with an expert in that field. So stay tuned for that, Mike. I think you'll like that one. Clayton, in a travel contact center, we called agents guides. I love that. That's brilliant. I don't know about you. I have a real aversion to the term agents because it was often prefaced with just just the agents, or I'm just an agent, and it's kind of grated on me ever since, and I have an aversion to it. But I feel like you kind of have to use it. It's the phrase that we all know, isn't it? But I love that guides. Let me just quickly tell you now. I know Dan is in the community, as is Clayton. But I just wanted to share with you something I shared in the community yesterday. Um, you'll see I do a live stream much like this every morning apart from today because this takes precedent. But tomorrow I am doing a live stream on QA tips. On Thursday, there's a live stream on Academy in Grad Bay. And I'm really pleased that on Friday, we have Helen from BPA Quality is doing a masterclass on difficult conversations. And there's been a big sign up for that. Clayton's done a masterclass. Joe Garland has, Barry has. If any of you would like to do masterclasses in the community, the best I can offer you is some merchandise like this shirt or some stickers and things like that. And also, of course, the warm feeling that you will get by helping our new leaders of the future and the people doing the job right now be better at what they do. But if you would be interested in coming and doing a masterclass in the community, please just let me know. I'd love to have you lined up. It's something we do as regularly as we can. But you get an idea of some of the things that we're doing in the community, and it's if you know of any team leaders that you think would benefit from being in there, or maybe you'd like to be in there, then again, just let me know, and I will throw you straight in there. So let's get to one of our favorite sections. Get your fingers ready for some comments because it is time for. Hello. Okay, so we're now coming to the read along, and we're up to page 382. We're starting, and a really interesting section of Contact Babel's Decision Maker Guide for 2023. We are into the world of complaints, and you can see here that the bars at the bottom represent the percentage of calls that are complaints, and we're going from 2010 to 2022, and you can see that there has been a rise in the number of complaints that we are handling as an industry, from 3.9% of calls in 2010 to 10.7% in 2022. The line represents the percentage of all of complaints that are about the contact center. There's some more on that in the next slide. Does this ring true with your own experiences over this period? Have you seen an increase in complaints? Does this reflect your experience? Let's have a look, because what am I reading here? A clear upward trend can be seen when looking at the proportionate calls that are complaints in general, from less than 4% in 2010 to over 10% more recently. There may be multiple reasons for this. Businesses may be failing the customers more often, customers may have become more demanding, or customers may have moved away from the traditional form of complaint, the letter, and prefer to use the phone to complain instead. What do we think about this? Now, I'm assuming this slide is going to generate some thoughts, especially that statement there. Are we failing customers more often? Or have customers become more demanding? Or are customers just moving how they are making their complaints? Have you, as a customer, complained more in the last couple of years than you did previously? Are you part of these statistics? Speaking personally, I don't believe I have. In fact, I can't remember the last time I complained. I'm just a bit too laid back, I think. So Keith says, I ask if customers complain by phone as their first choice of communication, or if they have exhausted other communication means. It's a really interesting point. That's something you do, Keith, right? So this does go on to say, many contact center decision makers state the most effective channel to use for complaints is a telephone. And it may be that customers have found this out for themselves over the past few years. To your point, Keith, right? Let me move on to the proportion of calls that are complaints about the contact center from 2010 to 2022. Now, there's a really interesting point here. Combining the two sets of data on the previous chart, the proportion of calls that are complaints and the proportion of complaints that are about the contact center rather than the wider business, gives the following chart. The proportion of calls that are complaints about the contact center. This is a figure that contact center decision makers should be interested in, as these complaints not only cost money to handle, but are in large part avoidable in the first place. Since 2012, the figure of contact center complaints is relatively steady at 1.5% of inbound calls, although the figure has grown in each of the past 3 years. This is really interesting. This may not seem particularly high, but with 7 billion inbound calls per year in our industry and typical cost per call of around £5.50, handling the 1.9% of calls that are complaints about the failings of the contact center costs the industry around £700 million per year. Let me just repeat that. We get 7 billion inbound calls per year in our industry, and the typical cost per call is £5.50. Therefore, handling the 1.9% of calls that are complaints about the failings of the contact center costs the industry around £700 million per year. Wow. Clayton has got to go, but you've had your weekly fix. Feeling good. That's all I can ask, my friend. I've achieved my aim there. Thank you, buddy. Um, the fact that the percent, this is Scott saying, the fact the percentage of calls that are complaints has remained static at 18%. For me, the increase in the calls that are complaints might have risen proportionately due to the removal of topics that are now readily resolved by self-service. What a lovely slant on that, Scott. That is very, very astute. And that was, of course, about this slide here. That we have removed some things that people typically complained about, I think is brilliant. Now, Mike says, is there a sector reason breakdown? Energy crisis and demand increased, pushed wait times. Oh, sorry. Energy crisis and demand increase, pushed wait times up. Many companies are slow to restaff after COVID cutbacks, which didn't help. Yeah, so I suppose you could say round about 2019, 2020, we had that little dip, didn't we, where we were all in this together and customers were giving people a break. Then I would say the majority of companies got with the program and staffed accordingly. Unbelievably, there are still some now that will use this for use COVID as an excuse still for not being staffed properly. I still see that on LinkedIn, and it blows my mind. Is there a sector reason breakdown? No, you might find the next one. Yeah, let's see what you think of the next one, Mike. Because there isn't sector or reason, which would be really good to have. Here she is, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, Princess of Bel Air, our resident rapper Neris. Failings of the response, failings of the agents, or failings of the process. Interesting, but more granularity needed. To Mike's point, exactly, Neris. I think you all need. It's piqued your interest, but there needs to be more data. And the next slide doesn't give us that really. What it does give us is what is the most effective channel to use for complaints. So respondents were asked to assess which channel they personally would use if they had a complaint as a customer of their own organization and how this has changed since 2014. So the decision makers that filled out the survey said that they were going to, if they had to complain about their own organization, which I think is a really nice point. Now, I'm going to go back. I'm going to point out that since 2020, the percentage of complaints about the contact center has increased. Have we gotten homework in anywhere near right for the customer and staff? So Keith making a point, is this down to homeworking? So if you obviously there's been a huge increase, and I think it's an interesting comparison to make that warrants further investigation. Neris is going to make us all very jealous now. I appreciate you watching this though from a sunbed in Zante. A well-earned break, Neris. That's true. So let's go to this point, which was the people that responded to the survey, the decision makers of our industry. Did you do the survey yourself? I'm looking at all of you as decision makers. Were asked if you had to complain about your own organization, what channel would you personally use? And you can see pretty much backing up David's point here about telephone being still by far the most dominant channel that people would you prefer to use for making a complaint, followed by email. Interestingly, social media in the green there has just kind of stopped in 2019 with none of the respondents saying they would use social media, whereas up until 2019, people were saying they'd use social media, web chat, letter, 2% still even in 2022, saying that they would write a letter, and then 9% no preference. But I think the two takeaways from me there are the dominance of telephony and then followed by email, but the disappearing of social media in terms of not using that channel to make a complaint, which is interesting. Okay, moving on swiftly to, we're now going to go to um, a really interesting slide here. So, preferred method for contacting a company where the interaction is classed as a high emotion. So this is a survey of 1,000 UK consumers, and they were given hypothetical scenarios. And what we're being shown here is the high emotion scenario. Um, they received as the desired product they'd ordered. It was incorrect when it arrived. This was defined as a high emotion interaction. As being sent an incorrect item is often frustrating, as not only has the desired product not arrived, but the customer is then left with the problem and effort of returning the item. It's not a particularly complex interaction, and in many cases will not be particularly urgent. So the most popular option was to email the organization. It with 36% of respondents choosing this method. The second most popular at 23% was phoning the contact center, and web chat also made a strong appearance, with 14% choosing this as their preference. There was a strong pattern based on the age of the survey respondent and their preferred channel. The older demographic were the most likely to pick up the phone, although email was popular with all age groups. Web chat was a very popular option with a younger demographic, overtaking telephony and suggesting that it is no longer only the very youngest demographic that are happy to use web chat. 14% of the sub 25 year old age group would choose social media, which is a major finding for businesses serving these customers. What do we think about this? What age group are you in? And does that tally with your own thoughts? So I'm in 45 to 54. I would still ring, I think. I think I'd be in the 25%. Let me just catch up. Sorry. For me, it's first via the phone. So I get a quick response, says Mike, and hopefully solve on the spot. If that doesn't work, I want the paper trail, so email in case I need to progress it formally. I'm stuck in my ways and won't use social media or the web for anything important. I tend to agree, Mike. Where does everyone else think? The disappearance of social media from complaints. People have learned that all that happens is someone asks you to DM. Very true, Bev. And then they put you in another queue of their choice rather than answer, says Keith. Now, very true, you two. Ian says too many contact centers with poorly configured options when you call in leaves callers frustrated and more minded to whinge when they do get through rather than just get a solution. They should all have a press X for anything else. Very, very true. The thing I'd say about this is a high emotion interaction. I thought they could have done something a bit more. It's not is getting the wrong thing. High emotion. If I get sent something that I've desired, let's say I asked for a Tottenham shirt, I desire that, and actually, it would be high emotion if it was an Arsenal shirt. They wouldn't get it sent back. That would be thrown in the bin straight away. But let's say it was uh, a lesser team. I don't know, Leeds. I'd send it back. I don't think that would be high emotion. Marianne says, with social, could it be something to do with trust? I think a lot of people's thoughts have changed hugely about social platforms, especially with Facebook and X, the aforementioned Twitter. Um, just in terms of data protection and integrity, that kind of thing, Marianne. So I think you're right in terms of there's a lack, trust has been reduced, and also to Keith and Bev's point and Mike's, that actually, do you think it's going to make you want your complaint resolved, right? So do you think social media is going to do it, or are you just trying to shout and embarrass the company into action? I think we have time for one more um, slide, and this is just to tease you a little bit because we are now close to page 400, and we are just getting onto first call resolution, one of our favorite um, KPIs, and the one that we most associate with customer satisfaction, if you remember from a previous show. So, the overall trend line for first call resolution is generally declining very slightly as the easier interactions go to self serve. The contact center is left with more difficult and varied tasks through email as well as phone, which can also be very complicated to categorize effectively using the current tools available to most. So Scott is just saying on the previous slide, he is email is my 35 to 44. Email is my choice. I don't want to be bound to holding on to my issue until the company's standard business opening hours. And emails offer a trail of contact and commitment that you don't get with voice. Very, very true, Scott. Um, so back to first call resolution. As the contact center adapts and invests in better ways of handling customer requests, first call resolution rate increases and parity resumes. The exodus of easy work to self serve channels may not quite be balanced by immediate balancing improvements in knowledge sharing and other agent support processes that would mean stable first call resolution rates. If you can understand that sentence, you are a better person than me. I have no idea what that sentence meant. But I do think that what we're seeing here is this self-serve absolutely picking up some more of the transactional interactions, and exactly agree with this, that we are seeing the contact center is left with more difficult and varied tasks. Does this surprise you that we've seen since 2004 up to 2022 a slight overall decrease in first call resolution, albeit you can see it's picked up there in 2022 from 2019, 2020, 2021. There was a drop underneath, well, 74, 72, 73, 73, and that's shot back up last year to 77%. Is that COVID related, home working related? Now returning to hybrid. What do we think about this? It's our favorite KPI according to some previous stats we've shared. It's one that we all know. What do we think about this? Not that significant when you think, in 2006 it was 80%, 2022 77%. Not that much has changed, or it has changed. What do you think? First call resolution graph is a bit meh, but maybe use the cost example. Yeah, yeah. I I'm with you. I'm with you, Bev. Okay, so thank you very much for sticking with me. We're coming to the end, and I'm going to need your ideas actually for what will fill the void. Will we need, what else can we? Uh, hold on, everybody. Mike's chucked in the longest comment so far. That first call resolution chart just shows how important a well trained team is. And if it was more known by the general public, then they might not look down on the customer service roles as much. Even with more automation coming in, it isn't fully replacing people. We're left with a huge chunk of complex issues for people to solve. This sector relies on a huge number of customer expert ninjas that deserve proper recognition. So true, Mike, and uh, absolutely agree with that wholeheartedly. Um, Wherever you've watched the show today, and of course with Dan, we're one step closer now to being on primetime TV. If you're on a sunbed in Zante, your home office, or in the contact center, thank you very much for watching. It's a pleasure to share this 45 minutes with you and talk all things contact centers. Um, I'm sure, like me, we're all geeks about this, aren't we? We all love it, and it's really nice to end on a comment from Mike that recognizes the great work that all the people in our contact centers do every single day. Very often overlooked by the general public, but we know what a great job they and you do. So, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been brilliant to share this time with you, and I will see you all next Tuesday.